Hello everybody, it's Claire back with another art journal video, and this one is a page in a watercolour journal, and this is actually one of Dina's white ones that you can't get anymore. Unfortunately, I do have a little stash on my shelf, I have to confess. This is a collage paper from Natalie May, and as you can see I'm just using a water brush to cut it out of the image out of the paper. This, as you know, gives a really nice soft edge. Not all collage papers will do this. I think like napkins you can do this with as well if you like creating with those. It just means it's got a less harsh edge. And then I am adding some gesso to my page. So this is going to help to seal that page before I start working on it, and mean that my paints will behave how I want them to. So this paper in the white journal is very, very porous. If I put some paint straight on here, it will just soak in. The gesso just creates that nice prep before I start to add any colours onto my page. So I'm going to start off with colours first today, and I am going to go straight in with some dark ones. I don't often work this dark, but I think if there's one thing that I learned from doing this page, it was don't be afraid of the dark colours, because sometimes you think, oh my gosh, like what on earth, where do I go from here? But actually there are so many things that you can do, and this you will find will give your page lots and lots of depth. So I've added a bit of paint. It's one, I think it's marine. It's actually gone quite thick, so I'm just letting it down a bit with a bit of water, just so that I can move it around on my page a bit better. And then I've just sprayed the edges a bit just to help it travel. And then here I thought, okay, that is very dark. I want to just knock that back a bit. So I am going in with a cloth and just lifting some of that excess liquid off the page. And it's going to lift a bit of the colour off as well. And I quite like that effect. It works quite nicely. That means that I can now go in with another colour and it won't be too much of a swirling mess on my page. So this is Mineral. So I'm starting off quite dark and then going in with a lighter colour, and I'm just going to do a bit of overlapping. My image is going to go down on that right hand corner of my page, so I'm kind of not worrying too much about popping too much down there, because I'm going to be obviously adding my image in there. So you can see already I've knocked that colour back using that lighter colour over the top. Then that gets a dry. So the reason for drying in between layers is just to stop your paints travelling around, fix them in place, and then you can start to work on top of them with other colours without them interfering with what you've done already. So now I'm going to use, I mean, that looks like night, I think it might be. This is a stencil from Nat. Also, this is called, I think it's Pebbles or something like that. Really cool. I love circle stencils. I have so many. Yeah, so I'm adding a little bit of stenciling over those light areas that I've created, and this is going to kind of stand out quite nicely. So I'm using analogous colours really to start off with on this page, just to create that kind of nice background that flows. You can see it's got lots of depth already, but there are so many more things that we can do to pull that on even further. So this stencil is one from Natalie May Scrapbooking as well. Dina also has stencils similar to this. Yeah, I don't think you can have too many circle stencils in your stash. And here I'm going in with Sapphire. So again, I'm just keeping those colours analogous. They're all fairly close to each other on the colour wheel. And they're kind of going to play really nicely with each other because they're not going to clash. So just adding some more stenciling, overlapping with the stenciling that was there before, and then I'm going to go in and introduce a bit more lightness. So this diamond stencil is one I designed for one of my classes with Natalie. So I think at the moment you can only get it if you do the class, but I think it will probably go on sale with the rest of Nat's stuff. And here I'm just bringing in a bit more of a lighter colour just to bring a bit of relief from all these dark colours. So if you start creating a background and you think, oh my days, it's gone so dark, I didn't want it this dark, just then dry it and add some lightness over the top, and that way you can push that oh my dear, dark background into the background, and the lighter colours will come forwards. So then I want to stick my collage image down. Now, if I'd have stuck it straight on, some of those dark colours would have popped through the skin tones, and I didn't really want to affect those too much. So I've added some white, dried it, and then I've got to stick it down. You can see now there are like weird edges around my image, so I'm going to just kind of have a play once it's dry with trying to start blending those in. So here I'm just going in with that dark colour, and I'm just going to pull that across to the bottom of my page, and it just starts to blend those bits in where it looks a little bit like I've stuck an image on top of a background, which it does at the moment. But by kind of playing with where your colours finish and start, you can make your images blend really easily. So I'm just using a sponge to pop that colour on. You could just as easily use a brush, or even your finger would be quite good, because you can be quite precise with your finger when you're adding paint onto your page. And now, just to make my page make sense, I'm balancing it by adding some of those dark colours at the top corners, just so that dark bit at the bottom doesn't feel too strange. So the colour that I'm using there is Night, which is a beautiful deep blue colour with quite a lot of purple in it, from Dina Wakley. It's one of my favourite dark colours that she does. Yeah, so you can see now that kind of makes sense. Your eye is drawn to the image in the middle, and then it kind of moves around the rest of the page. So now I'm going to just start pulling the bottom of the image down to the bottom of my page so that it's connected with the bottom and it feels like it belongs. So I'm just extending what looks like the top that she's wearing downwards, and you can see immediately that connects it all up. So then I decided I wanted to bring a bit more lightness to this page. So keep continuing with the depth that's already there. I'm then going in with this botanical type stencil. Again, this is one that I designed for Natalie, and I'm just going to pop some white branches of leaves around the edge of my page. Now these are all going to be pointing inwards, so again that's another thing that draws your eye into where your image is. I've also added some splatters, and now I'm just going in with a bit of stamping. So my usual thing is a bit of text and some dots, and that kind of for me is that like little mixed media touch that I like to add when I'm pretty much getting to the point where I think my page is complete. And I just really love the little flourishes that little extra bit of stamping at the end can add. So next it's time for some words, and I'm using my white Posca pen for this, mostly because my background's quite dark, and black would have mostly disappeared, I think, whereas using the white, it just kind of stands out nicely and fits in well with everything else that's going on my page. She will be known by the boldness of her spirit. I have to be in a very certain type of mood to feel bold enough for people to say that about me. Anyway, then I am just pulling some of that orange out. This is a Sharpie paint pen, which I found recently, and I do really like them. They are nice. My collection of paint pens is ever growing, and I'm just adding some little marks onto my page using this orange paint pen, and that just connects with the beautiful colour of her hair onto my page. And then the final thing that I decided to do was to do some scribbly lines around those leaves that I've added. So it's not necessarily something that you notice straight away. I think it just helps kind of frame those stenciled elements onto the page as well. So there she is, a finished page. She will be known by the boldness of her spirit. She looks like she might have a bold spirit to me. So thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed watching this video, and maybe you'll all go and have a play with some of those dark colours you've got in your stash. Don't be afraid of them. Don't forget there are lots of little techniques and tips that you can use to push that dark background into the background. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you again soon.